This video is just about redoing all the storage racks for my woodworking clamps. Now, about 10 years ago, I put up these shelf supports and built these little inserts that go in there to hold my woodworking clamps, the larger ones, and decided I wanted to squeeze a couple more into the area, but the problem was I went to Home Depot to buy some more of the brackets, and like 10 or 12 years later, they don't make them anymore. They make a completely different bracket. So here are the original brackets with the wood inserts that I made years ago. And, this project, I'm doing it in 3D printed brackets, a new one, but it can be made out of wood also. So there they are. Each of the clamps fit into a wooden bracket that locked down into the shelf support bracket. And it's kind of how the original ones looked. But like I said, you couldn't buy the same matching brackets anymore, and I decided to just use the original brackets here for other shelving. And then I went out and purchased some new wall brackets. So here it is. I got the 3D printer fired up, got it all heated up, and I decided I was going to try to make this into my first 3D printed project. Now, I have shared all the files for everything on the Thingiverse, I guess they call it. So I'll put links to that in the description for anybody that's interested. And, like I said, these could be made out of wood, the files. You can get dimensions off of them and whatnot. And it's just one of those things where I'm trying to come up with a way to be able to share the files for all the projects that I do. Because people, have asked for them in the past. So, much quicker to make them out of wood, I think. But this was much more fun to make them out of the plastic. So basically, you just have to draw them up and then, let the printer do its job. You print them basically hollow on the inside with some cross hatching to fill it up. And I think I use like a 1.5 millimeter thick wall on everything on the outside to, support the clamps. So, basically it does take about, right there's one done. Takes over 3 hours to actually print one of these clamps. So, you could make a whole batch of them out of wood and a lot less than that. So, either way it works and they'll do the same thing. But, so the first couple clamp racks that I made are the ones to hold the 1/2 inch pipe and 3/4 inch pipe bar clamps. And there you can see I was able to squeeze like 4 clamps in each of the 9-inch shelf brackets, and so it just kind of printed out the there it is. Once you let the bed cool down, these things pop right off the bed, and you print supports on them to hold up parts that are overhanging and whatnot, and they all just kind of snap off. And you need to do a little cleanup with an X-Acto knife when they're done, but basically you need something to hold up the stuff that'll be printed in midair. So that's what these supports basically do. So there it is, all cleaned up, and there's the brackets that are available now from Rubbermaid at Home Depot. And that's how these fit into them. They just they have that lip there, and they just slide down into the bracket. And basically they, real nice fit. They look nice, and they go good with the white on the bracket, I guess. And then I just put some screw holes in the bottom so I could come up in the bottom with a couple of sheet metal screws. And in the end, I wound up only using 1 screw in the back of each clamp, which was plenty to hold it. So I think I printed out 16 of these pipe clamps. So, it did take a couple days of time for the printer to be running, while I was out doing other stuff. But so there's, pretty much the result of that. And it's nice because it's, when you print something, it's not like doing woodworking where you remove stock. You're just building up stock when you print, so there's no waste. And they're the old ones that became kindling wood for my wood stove. And I also had to buy new uprights because they were, the brackets didn't come in the off-white anymore. So one of the first things to do was just get the old uprights off the wall and turned out the screws are in there pretty good after, being in there for over 10 years. They used Phillips head screws on them, and, it just wasn't really easy to get them out, but they did finally come out with the impact gun. So I took the old brackets off the wall first, and then I just went back and I did buy one extra new one to squeeze in there, and I bought all the new mounting hardware for the brackets and stuff, so they did a real quick job putting them back up, and I just had to line them up with the old marks from the old brackets that came off on the wall, and screw them in place and level them out so that they were all at the same height so the clamps would sit level when you were done. So that that was a pretty easy job. That didn't take too long to do, and I was hoping I could find some of the original brackets, but they don't make them anymore. So once I got the uprights up, I was able to go back and start putting the little inserts in those shelf brackets, and I just put one screw up in the back of each one. I did put provisions in the front, but I really didn't need it. So I started getting the clamps, pretty much arranged the way I wanted them, and started adding a couple more of those brackets on each one. And then I needed a different version to hold I got some of those heavy-duty Irwin F-type clamps that I needed a bracket for. So I started by, printing up a couple of them. Just had to do the drawing and print them up. And then I also had some little bit narrower, the light-duty Harbor Freight type F clamps that you get there for, a couple bucks a piece. And I had to come up with a different bracket also for them. So, a little more 3D printing, but once you get everything set up and, get everything figured out, how to get the printer to work right, that's the biggest part. Then you just let it go on its own, and you walk away and do something else. So I got them all printed up, and there's how they look. There's the one for the Irwin clamps. You can see how the clamps lock in them nice, and holds them in position and keeps them spaced out nice. And then I needed a couple more brackets to hold up a straight edge, like a saw guide type clamp. So I drew that up and got the printer going, and there's the bracket. That's the first one off the printer, and they basically just slide up into the bottom of the Rubbermaid shelf brackets. They're a nice tight fit for the top of it, and then I just put one like long number 6 wood screw into the wall to hold it in place, and give it a little extra support because these I'm not sure how strong these 3D printed parts are over time, so figured a screw in that location would really help. And there's what it looks like, and that's how the clamp just slides down in there and holds it in place. So that got that out of the way, and up on the wall where I could find it easy. So basically here it is. Everything's mounted. All the little brackets are in place, and I was able to squeeze in quite a few more clamps, and they actually it looks came out real nice looking, kind of professional looking almost. And clamps are real easy to access now, and they never fall off the wall like that. And at the same time, I was able to work in, I've got some brackets now so I can hold up to 8-foot long clamps on the top there. They just stretch out over the door, and so everything, I'm real happy with the way it came out. And like I said, I really just did this kind of to start to learn how to share files and whatnot. So basically, I'm going to put some links in the description. Oh, here's some the other brackets that I took down. I put them up on the other side of the shop now, and planed a bunch of 1x12 ash and rough cut ash and put that up. So I've got some more shelves in the shop now. So, basically, like I was saying, this is just, a way that I came up with to hang all my clamps in one small spot on the wall that was kind of unused anyway. And I'm trying to learn how to share the files, so everything will be there'll be a link to each of the files that you've seen here, and they could be made out of whatever you want, whether you want to just get dimensions off them, make them out of wood, or whether you want to 3D print them or whatnot. And hopefully, these are some ideas that some of you might find useful someday in the future, whether it be for clamps or something else. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.